my mind or correct me later on. They can phone me up and tell me, no, that was all wrong and I made it up and it was all lie. I don't know, right? The only thing what I do know is that yes, the name Hutton is synonymous with music, and grandfather opened the music store. Actually, the first one was on Military Road, and then he moved down to Water Street, and we lived upstairs above the music store. He did, and my mother and father as a family, we lived there as well. But I digress. He did produce a lot of Gilbert and Sullivan and other shows as well, but he was, you know, well known for his Gilbert and Sullivan productions. He went to England, London, in I think maybe in his 40s, and went to D'Oyly Carte, who was the big, you know, synonymous with Gilbert and Sullivan. They did everything that they ever wrote, and he saw D'Oyly Carte and do some of the productions, and he came home with, I'm assuming, the libretto and the score and stuff, and produced them here in the city with the talent that he could find, and he also went into the schools and the orphanages and produced the Gilbert and Sullivan there. So he was quite active in that community as well. My grandmother, Antonia, I'm assuming he met when he was in London, because she was quite a singer herself and a performer. So they fell in love. She came over on the boat, and the family is history, and that's it.
You mentioned that you grew up in the apartment over the store.
Right, yes.
On Water Street. Now, what was that like? You must have, looking out the window, you know, during Christmas in the evenings, you must have seen something.
It was magical. Well, what I remember, you know, as a child, and we do tend to romance our childhoods if they were good.
Yeah.
But Water Street was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic place to grow up.
Well, it was before the Avalon Mall.
It was before the mall. You know, there was Aaron Sons right across the street from us. It was Aaron Sons, and now that's where the Bank of Commerce is now. And then there was Barings, and the London, New York, and Paris, and the Royal stores, and then in between there was Sally's, the Five and Dime, the Ewing's, and you know, on the other side, it was magical. It really was. And looking out the third-story window, I mean, we didn't have to go downtown and freeze in the cold to see the Santa Claus parade.
No.
I mean, that just drove right by our window, right by. Yes, yeah. So it was a lot of fun. And then, you know, summertime, there wasn't the traffic that we have now. You know, everybody was on foot and they were walking, and you'd go downtown and you'd meet people, and there wasn't the cafes and stuff. There was McMurdo's. You'd sit at the counter and have an ice cream soda or a toasted ham sandwich for lunch or something, right? And then all the businessmen would come at for their 11 o'clockers, and they would have their coffee, and they'd be knee deep there at the counter having coffee and talking business, right? A lot of business was done there, right?
I bet,
yeah. And so it was a wonderful place to grow up. Now, there was the downside. We had to walk up those hills to get to school, right? So every day off we'd go, right? And we walked. You know, you'd go up Churchill or Bell Street, and then you'd go up Garrison Hill, and then you'd go to Mercy or St. Bon's or Holy Heart or what or Brother was,
exactly, yeah.
But it was good. It was fun. It was a great place to grow up. I have wonderful memories of Water Street. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about your mom and dad.
Mother and father. The most loving couple that I ever knew or will know. They adored one another. They were special. Mother was one of what they would call the McNamara twins. They were She was born in 1912, so twins were quite an anomaly then. There was no, fertility pills or anything like that. So they were identical. There's also family lore. My mother would switch places with my aunt, and they'd go out on different dates. They were really, really a force to be reckoned with, the two of them. They loved to entertain. Mother and father did, as did my grandfather. There was music soirees in our house, and again, Christmas time, I remember that my mother and father would have a party Christmas night. How they did it, I have no idea, because I know what it was like when my kids were growing up. Christmas night, just don't talk to me after cooking dinner and the toys and all that. They would have a party, and there'd be 50 or 60 people in the house. Buffet supper, drinks, you know what it was like. And anyway, they loved to entertain. They really did. And they had a large circle of friends. Beautiful, beautiful couple. Yeah.
So when were you bitten by the performance bug? And was it piano? Was it singing? Was it acting? What was it that really
I don't know. I
interested you?
can't really tell you what. Well, I think I came out of the womb singing. I don't know. My first remembrance of performing would be down the McBride's Hill. At the bottom was VOCM, and there was Harry Brown and his junior jamboree, Uncle Harry.
Yeah. And
I remember performing in that radio station down there, and there was Eric Abbott would play the piano. That's the first performance that I'm sure I was singing long before then in the house. My sister Louise was a little older than I, and she would play the piano, and Dad would play the piano, and they'd all play the piano, and we'd all get up and sing. You know, it would be something that we did. It was, I thought everybody did it, but not everybody did, right?
But no, not everybody did, indeed.
Yeah.
Can you remember the first time you performed on stage when you were little?
Oh, that would have been a music festival, probably, right? I really don't remember it. I do remember one year, I was probably about 13, and it was probably the last music festival that I sang in, but I was 13, and I had a red dress, and I walked out on stage, and the dress was cut up in this little crinoline underneath it. And I looked down. I was horrified, absolutely horrified. Right, you could see my petticoat. And I can remember bending down and sort of ruffling and straightening it out. Sister Catherine playing the piano for me. Either that or Sister Saline. I'm not sure which one it was, right? But playing the piano for me and going, right? But I came first.
Good for you.
Right. But after that, my singing and my education sort of went downhill. Because when I was in grade 9, I went to Holy Heart. By this time, I was starting to take piano lessons. And when I was a lot younger, my piano teacher told my mother, Tessa's not interested. You're wasting your money. So they took me out of that. Then I was probably about 8 or 9. So I don't know how to play the piano. I don't know how to actually read music. People don't believe that, but I don't. Everything that I learn is by ear, right? When I was in grade 9, I failed geometry at Christmas time. And I was taking piano lessons, I was taking voice lessons, I was in triple trios, choirs, you name it, whatever they could put me in, what the nuns could put me in, I was in it. My mother went up to the parent-teachers night and just whipped me right out of everything. My education was a lot more important than singing. And I have never taken a lesson.
Wow.
Since.
Wow.
Now, this funny thing.
Do you think the nuns put more pressure on you because of your heritage? Because you were
surely, yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I guess they saw potential. you know, they had an ear and an eye for that kind of thing. But I wasn't in drama in school. I didn't do anything like that. I wasn't allowed. And I failed geometry at Christmas time. Right? But that's the way it was then. You know, I'm talking 60 years ago now, Karl, you know. So it's not, you know, education was very important. And the kids today have such the opportunities. You know, they have the School of Music here. They go off to Sheridan. They go off to, you know, and it's just amazing. And that thing wasn't done in my time.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more opportunity for people who want to perform for a living.
Yes, they do. Yes, yeah.
Or otherwise, yeah.
Now, there's a lot of people out there that are no-talent people that, you know, shouldn't be making the millions that they do. Especially, you know, I don't understand the rap stuff. But anyway, that's my, you know, that's my age. My age. That's a whole different they're not going to be humming it when they're my age, right? That's for sure, right? Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, who were some of the recording artists that you admired when you were growing up?
Well, of course, you know, there was the Beatles and, you know, all those people. But I go back to the Judy Garland. You know, she's just fabulous, absolutely fabulous. And I watched her on television with Mickey Rooney, you know, and you know, those are the things that we watched, and I just loved it. She was fabulous. She really, really was. And you know, then came Barbra Streisand, and you know, these are the Bernadette Peters. You know, these are people that I saw as stars, right? Real stars.
Yeah, it was kind of the same for me. It was the people I saw on television growing up that I really fell in love with, you know.
Yes,
Peggy Lee was, I thought Peggy Lee was...
it was fabulous. I mean, she was so sexy. And so, she really was.
And, of course, you know, Sinatra and Tony Bennett, all those people. Yeah.
And my favorite actress, I think, was Bette Davis. I mean, the woman could act anything, or act, you know, she was really, really marvelous, right up until the time she died, you know. Baby Jane, and even that kind of stuff she was good at. And she didn't mind looking ugly. She really didn't.
Did you know that she was taught acting by a Newfoundlander?
Who was that?
John Murray Anderson. Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
He had an acting school in New York.
Yeah, I knew that he was...
And she was one of his pupils.
I had no idea.
And I have a picture of Bette Davis receiving her diploma from John Murray Anderson.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
that was a name that we...
It's a great story.
That was in that was spoken in our household a lot, right? He was a Newfoundlander made good, you know, really, really good.
Yeah, he was a major force on Broadway.
Yes.
Certainly for his musicals.
Yes, productions and stuff.
Yeah. Was there one song that you found yourself singing again and again, over and over when you were young?
Well, there's always songs running through my mind, but I think, well, maybe because when I went down to the Uncle Harry show, you know, there was like, I'm forever blowing bubbles, and Molly Malone in Dublin's Fair City, right? And we used to have a book at home that Louise, my sister Louise, would play, and we'd get up and sing. And it had all those old, you know, if you were the only girl in the world, and, you know, pack up all the old war songs, and so that's what we sang at home all the time, right? And we still do when we get around the piano, as you know,
sure.
right? Yes, yeah.
You and I first met in 1974 when you were in The Music Man.
Yes.
And
Gordon Pinsent.
Gordon Pinsent, and your sister Louise was in it.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, your history with musicals goes back
way back.
Well, before that.
Not too much before that. The first musical I did was The Geisha, and that was the musical director was Nish Rumbold.
Yeah.
who was a protege of my grandfather, and the director was Michael Cook.
Michael Cook.
Michael Cook.
And this was a musical?
Yes.
Oh, I can't imagine.
I know.
I can't imagine Michael Cook directing a musical.
He directed, it was a production from Munn.
Yeah.
And Michael was the director.
Yeah.
And a lot of the talent were taken from the Munn Choir and the St. John's Extension Choir.
Yes.
And that was the first one that I did. And I can remember it. He was a wonderful director. He really, really was. He got the best out of everybody. Very taciturn, though, and very strict, very strict. It was his way or the highway. But
he had that authoritative voice.
He certainly did. But I remember one night being on stage, and I was one of the 3 or 4 little geisha girls, and my sister Louise was the ingenue, the star of the show, and she was having some kind of love affair with the lieutenant, and I was spying on her, and I was in this covered pagoda with the little fan and the kimono and the obi on the back and everything, and looking out like this with the fan, and the floor of the pagoda broke, and I went right down to my waist. Boom, right down, straight down. And I'm still there looking. Oh, we had some time, and I just sort of pulled up the kimono and got myself out of the hole that I had that happened for me, and went off stage in the gales of laughter.
Was it The Music Man or another production where they brought you out?
Oh, that was Music Man.
On a set?
Yes, I was
on the veranda.
veranda. And I played Louise, my sister, who is older than I am. I played her mother.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. And they wheeled us. It was a veranda with the sets were huge in those days, not the minimalist thing that you get now.
No.
But I mean, this was an actual veranda that you could put on a house. Right?
Yeah.
And they wheeled this out from the side, and it got caught on the leg, the black leg, those black curtains, right? Yeah. Excuse me. And you could hear this rip, right? And then you heard the blue language from the boys out on the side, and they were pulling with blanket. And here, what was supposed to happen was Gordon Pinson was standing in the lamplight, and he was supposed to walk from the lamplight, which they would have wheeled off, and walked up the street and walked up to the veranda. He was left there underneath this lamplight, I would say, for a good 5 minutes. He whistled, he tap danced, he did everything that he could possibly do, but read the whole script. And finally, they unhooked it all, right? And they wheeled me out, and he walked up, and he came up to the veranda, and I looked at him, and I said, "You had a hard time getting here, didn't you, my son?"
Yes, I remember there was a line you said.
Yes, it was something like that, right?
The audience just...
Well, it just broke the embarrassment and the tension in the house, right? Yeah. But it was, lots of things like that happen when you're doing live theater, as you know.
Tessa, I remember in The Music Man, one of the members of the cast was Margaret Mercer.
Yes.
And now Margaret was one of the real old-timers,
Great actress, great
actress,
yes,
and had been in musicals for a long time.
Yeah, right. She did with Roma Brockler Riddell. That was long before my time, right? Yeah.
But I was just wondering what your memories are of some of those, old hands, let's say.
Oh, I mean, they were very generous actors, and would come to you and say, "Why don't you try it this way? It might work, right? Or it would be better if you did it that way." And there was John Holmes and Margaret Mercer and Patty. Patty did the sets.
Patty Brogan.
Yes, Patty Brogan, and he was in Music Man as well, right? And he also designed some of the sets.
Yeah.
But there was a, there were all these people that, I looked up to and thought they were just absolutely marvelous. And Margaret was a lovely woman. She really, really was. And as I said, very generous. But she would upstage you any minute that she could, right? Trust me, right? She was, But it was a lot of fun. And Margaret Hitchens, you remember Margaret Hitchens?
Yes, I do,
Yeah, all gone.
Yeah. But they were also, I don't know whether you'd call them triple threats or not, but I mean, they seemed to be people who could handle straight acting, straight play.
Yes.
They could dance, they could sing.
In some
cases,
were taught very, very well. Yeah.
Taught well.
I can't tap dance.
A lot of versatility.
I can't tap dance.
I think you'd have a go, though.
I try it, but I've never. I was always that half beat behind everybody because I couldn't remember the choreography. But and my son used to laugh, "Mom, you're just that little much behind everyone, right?" I said, "Well, I got to know what I'm doing." But anyway.
Did you ever, when you were growing up, picture yourself one day being on Broadway?
Oh, I mean, I think every young singer, actor, whatever, pictures that. I mean, that would be the ultimate, wouldn't it? And that happens to some of us. Not to me, but it's funny that you should say that because just before my mom, my dear mother, died, she looked at me and I was sitting there, she was knitting. She said, if there's anything that I have to pay for in my life when I die is what I did to you. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, I took you out of all that music. And I looked at her, and I said, Mommy, I could have been a star on Broadway. Maybe I could have. I said, and then again, I could have been a whore on the street. I don't know. I said, but I am here where I am supposed to be right now. With you, right? And that was fine. That was, I could have grown up a very bitter woman, Karl, but I'm just joking. I did what I did, and I had the opportunities here, and I worked with the great Frances Dawson, Toll. We were in a lot of musicals together. She directed a lot of them, a lot of the ones that I was in my earlier days, in the 70s and early 80s.
And you've had a wonderful association with Terry Andrews because you've been in all the Divas shows, as far as I know.
Most of them. The only thing that I don't do the rock and roll stuff because I'm just,
but
look
you
at
were,
me, I'm
you
too
were
old.
in her production of Chicago.
I was in her production, but before that I was in her production of Cabaret.
Right.
That's how I got back. I had left the stage for many, many years. I hadn't done anything for a long time. And my dear friend, Sheila Guy Murphy, and I were out to a movie. And we were having supper, and she said, Terry is doing Cabaret. We should go and audition. And I said, yeah, that'd be fun. Why not? I haven't done that in a long time. So we made arrangements, you had to call to get an audition time and stuff. And I went down and was down on Duckworth Street in the old Telegram building, I believe. Terry had an office down there. And I went down at my assigned time, and Sheila was supposed to be either 5 minutes before me or 5 minutes after, and she never showed up. Anyway, I went in and auditioned. I only wanted to be in the chorus or get a little speaking part, about that many. Geez, didn't I end up with Fräulein Schneider, who owns the boarding house that everybody lived in. I didn't know. I mean, it was 20 years since I memorized a line. Didn't know if I could do this. Oh my God. I was so nervous. Right? And it was quite a success. And then we did the Divas Do Broadway down at Mile 1. That was the first big Diva show. And I did the Mama Morton song from that in that show. And then when Terry produced Chicago, she asked me if I would do the Mama Morton role, right? Yeah.
You are a force to be reckoned with, my dear.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't tap dance, I told you.
Been a lovely, who cares? It's been a lovely show. It's been lovely having you here.
Oh, it was a delight. Thank you very much.
Time goes too
Is the time up already?
Yes, we didn't get time to talk about your art or your sewing.
Oh, yes, I do all of that.
She makes all her own dresses for the Divas shows, and they're absolutely fantastic, gorgeous.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And that's it for this edition of Karl Wells Point to Point. Thank you for being with us. See you next time.
About this program, we'd love to hear it. Email or call us or send us your feedback through social media.
If you want convenience, Marie's Money